I'm really excited to talk about Pressure, the second story of FNAF Tales from the Pizza Puck's Somniphobia. I'm not even gonna wait to say it. I love this story. That's pretty ironic considering that this is the story that actually everyone was talking about when the little blurb on the back of the book was revealed. Something about the Springtrap costume in the role-playing area of Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizza Pucks chills Luca to the core. Trust me, it's so much better than what people were thinking. Also, before I get to the story, I just want to say that I somehow did not see the parallels to drug addiction in the previous story, Somniphobia, until I saw some other reviews. Sorry. The story opens with our protagonist, Luca, getting ready to join his friends in the Urban Legend role-playing auditorium at Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. Luca seems to be a high school senior and plays football. His friends, Nolan, Asher, and Mandy, want to do a roleplay scenario based on Fazbear's Fright. Oh yeah, about the roleplay venue. Basically, the participants can dress up as people and animatronics, and then there are certain areas built to allow for the selected scenario. These scenarios are meant to discredit the mysterious accusations against Fazbear Entertainment concerning the murders and disappearances surrounding the company over the years. Needless to say, Luca doesn't approve, especially since when he was just a kid, his friend, Kenny, apparently went missing and was found dead at a creek sometime later after being murdered. So yeah, he's pretty worried. Even more worried now because his friends want to do a roleplay scenario where they are teenagers and Luca is Springtrap. Yes, this activity has a Springtrap costume, so kids can become little William Afton 2.0s. Luca does not want to be Springtrap. He is adamant about not doing it, and I can understand him. Who would want to roleplay a serial killer who murdered children? It's in bad taste. Unfortunately for Luca, his friends eventually get annoyed and call him selfish and a jerk, and Mandy even baits him with romance like a little bitch. Like she's the selfish one. With no other choice, not wanting to be seen as a wuss, Luca is forced to put on the Springtrap costume, which apparently has these uncomfortable metal parts on the inside. I think every FNAF fan knows where this is going. As Luca waits for everyone to get ready, he spots a Pizza Puck's employee, Earl, watching some little kids with a cold stare. Luca's worried about this, but his friends push him to enter the game before he can investigate further. So, in this roleplay scenario, Luca, as Springtrap, has to find his friends who are posing as teenagers and pretend to kill them with a rubber knife. Children could be playing this game. So for a big chunk of the story, Luca tries to capture his three friends, but as time goes on, the suit's metal parts start poking him and clamping down on him. He starts to bleed, he's in pain, and it gets hard to move properly. And then, with horror, it dawns on him. He realizes what he is wearing. As the story states, there was a reason why Springtrap was called Springtrap. Yep, Luca is wearing an old Springlock suit. These suits, for those of you who don't know, were retired from Freddy's restaurants years ago because of how dangerous they were. The Springlocks inside these suits could easily be set off, injuring or killing the wearer. Fazbear Entertainment actually put a real Springlock suit in a game that was to be played by children. Luca painfully tries to find his friends and get help, but when they see him flailing and stumbling around in agony, they think he's just playing the part of William Afton trapped and decaying inside the suit. Before Luca passes out from exhaustion, he remembers something when he was little about his father telling him that his future was up to him and how a group can override one person's thinking in a decision or something. Meanwhile, his friends escape the game and go to the dining area to grab a pizza, leaving Luca inside because they are his friends. Luca wakes up and is angry for getting dragged into this by his friends. As he stumbles around trying to find an exit and help before he dies, he notices Earl, that same Pizza Puck's worker from earlier, donning a similar rabbit costume before following a little girl who also entered the game. Though he is near death and bleeding out, Luca tries to find Earl before he can hurt the little girl. He hears the girl screaming from inside a utility closet and finds Earl holding onto her before he's distracted by Luca's bleeding costume, and the girl breaks free. Luca attacks Earl and strangles him to death as he thinks about all the things in his future that he was so sure he would accomplish, and how he would never get to do any of them now. As Earl finally dies, Luca also goes limp, with his last thought being that his final act was not one that his friends chose for him, but one he chose for himself. As I thought about all the pros and cons of this story after reading, it hit me. Pressure might just be the best FNAF short story in the entire franchise, including both Fazbear Frights and Tales from the Pizzaplex. This one has so much going for it. I felt some genuine terror and disgust from the story, which is something that a lot of previous stories in the franchise, with a few exceptions, never really accomplished. Luca is such a good protagonist, so kind of heart, and the way he was treated by his... I'm not even going to pretend that they're his friends anymore. I'm going to call them secondary antagonists, with Earl being the main antagonist. The way he was treated by the secondary antagonist was awful. Imagine being stuck in a suit that is killing you painfully, and you try to get the attention of your buddies, but they simply think you're just messing around and abandon you in the game. And even before that, they force you into a suit you really don't want to be in, shame you for wanting to choose for yourself, and don't let you out of it. I was actually kind of mad throughout the story, but in a good way, if that makes sense. The serial killer plot parallels William Afton so much, and I love it. What's more, this is ironically the most positive ending yet, even though Luca dies. His noble deed at the very end makes his death feel sad, but also triumphant and sacrificial. Also, I love how the shadiness of Fazbear Entertainment is displayed here. They would be so cheap and evil that they would put a real Springlock suit in a game where kids would wear that suit and potentially die a horrible death. The fact that I'm praising so many dark elements in the story feels a little worrying, but hey, it's FNAF, what do you expect? Especially since these books are somehow more frightening than the actual Security Breach game. Also, I did enjoy Security Breach, I just can't even bring myself to be frightened of it anymore after playing through it the first time. They actually had the Century Blood and Vanny's Knife in a game about murdered children. The title of the story also makes sense, with Luca being pressured by the secondary antagonist into wearing a suit that would eventually lead to his demise. The title makes more sense here than Somniphobia's title did. Like, looking back on it, Sam was never really afraid of falling asleep. If anything, he wanted to sleep more due to his lucid dream addiction. Heck, in this tale, they even include a reference to the Help Wanted VR game, my favorite FNAF installment. What more could I possibly go on about? For a FNAF story, this is actually phenomenal. Like I said in the Somniphobia video, Tales from the Pizzaplex have been killing it with their stories far more than Fazbear Frights had, and this one is a clear example of that. The only problem is, I don't know if I can give it a full-on 10 out of 10. I can't help but feel like there's a really minor issue that keeps the story from being flawless. Maybe Luca could have had more backstory, maybe the secondary antagonist didn't need so much backstory, maybe we could have had some more backstory on why Earl wanted to hurt children. I'm not really bothered by these issues, and they're really small in my eyes, but I don't know if I should count them as actual issues or not. You know what? The story is a 9.5 to 10. There, we have a range. 9.5 can round up to 10 anyways. No matter what though, I can't stress it enough. In my opinion, this is the best story out of any FNAF series so far.